There has been a lot of talk recently about Oakland and the size of the Bay Area market. It's also complete propaganda, people manipulating facts and figures in such a way to support their own faulty arguments. The truth about the Oakland A's and the Bay Area market size is much more complicated than that. And really, it's not just the Bay Area we're talking about. There are numerous markets in the West Coast that are amalgamations of places and spaces that are simply too complex for some to comprehend. Hell, I've still come across numerous people who have no idea where Sacramento is, despite it being part of the 20th largest American media market. So what's the truth? What's the reality about the Bay Area market size, and why does it matter when we look at the Oakland A's relocation? Well, that's what we're looking at in this video, if you couldn't guess by now. According to Nielsen, the Bay Area market consists of San Francisco, Oakland, San Jose, and a host of other cities where housing costs way too much. It's currently the 10th largest market in America. This is what all those clown show proponents of the Oakland A's move to Las Vegas cite when stumping up and saying the team should relocate because it's not a large market. It's not a market that can support two MLB or professional sporting franchises. This is not reality though. It's textbook. It's theory. It's academic fluff that doesn't consider the real world. In the real world, Oakland is part of the Northern California market that spans from the Pacific Ocean to Lake Tahoe, including the state of Jefferson, that's a weird ass place, and all the way down to Modesto. As Lloyd Lindsay Young likes to say,
59 and Modesto.
I will never know why that dude was so in the Modesto, but that's a big part of your childhood if you grew up in the Sacramento Valley. Anyway, the thing about Northern California is that it consists of 5 of Nelson's 200 largest media markets. That includes the 10th ranked San Francisco, Oakland, San Jose market, the 20th ranked Sacramento, Stockton, and Modesto market. When you combine Northern California into one large market, which it really is, as opposed to all of these separate entities, what you get is the 3rd single largest Nelson media market in the United States. Now, some of you will say, no, doesn't work like that. You can't combine media markets. You're just manipulating facts like you said earlier. Blah, 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 blah. I didn't really have a way to come out of that impression, so we're just going to carry on here. The people saying that, probably not in that manner, are ones that haven't been to Northern California, let alone lived here for any period of time. Anyone born and raised hella understands how this works, inherently so. NorCal, it's a way of life. From a sports fandom perspective, it's just how it is and how we know it as. You have folks in Redding that will drive down to attend Sacramento Kings games. I knew a guy living in Colfax who had 49ers season tickets, and that was when they were playing in Candlestick. Every single Northern California county has a number of Oakland A's fans in it. This, of course, brings us to the question, why do the A's play in Oakland? Well, obviously, when they first moved to the city, it was a pretty big population hub, and it remained that way up until about the 80s or 90s before housing prices got all crazy thanks to Silicon Valley. It also must be noted that the weather in Oakland is pretty conducive for baseball when compared to the oppressive heat of, say, Sacramento. A 7:05 first pitch, or even today a 6:40 first pitch in Oakland, is far more pleasant than, say, a 7 o'clock first pitch in Sacramento. That being said, with Northern California's population having dispersed throughout Northern California over the past 20 years or so, a case can be made for the franchise to play really anywhere from the South Bay to Sacramento. Anywhere but Stockton. Never Stockton. As for those fighting athletics, well, leaving Northern California is bad for business. Wait, what? John Fisher is a bad businessman? How shocking. You see, Vegas is the 40th ranked Nielsen market with roughly 870,000 households. If you include Reno into that mix for a combined Nevada entity, it bumps it up to the 1.1, 1.2 million range. It is vital to note though, Reno is much closer to Oakland and San Francisco than it is Las Vegas. That combined Nevada media market is about the same size as Pittsburgh and slightly larger than Nashville and Baltimore. But how does it compare to Northern California, you might ask? Well, let's start with some reality here. The San Francisco Giants are more popular than the A's throughout the region. There's no debating that fact. For argument's sake, let's just say 50% of all Northern California households identify as San Francisco Giants fans. I have also not included Fresno into this Northern California market. It is the 53rd largest Nielsen market, but I think anecdotally speaking, it's much more leaning towards the Giants and even some to Southern California teams, particularly the Dodgers. I haven't seen a lot of A's fans here, so I've just excluded it from my numbers. So we have 50% of Northern California identifying with the Giants. Now, we also need to factor in that some people just simply don't care about baseball and won't identify with either team or may have fandom somewhere else. Let's put this number at 17% for, again, argument's sake. That still leaves 33% of the Northern California market as Oakland A's households. The final tally of that would mean that more than 1.5 million households identify with the Oakland Athletics. That would still be good enough for it to rank as the 20th largest Nielsen market, and it's roughly about the same size as Cleveland. That is also 30% larger than Las Vegas, and unlike Sin City, which the 1.1 number we said earlier would assume that every single person in Las Vegas and Reno supports the team, the number in Oakland and Northern California could be bigger than the 33%. That's just I think a fairly conservative estimate. There are, of course, other factors to take into account when considering if a market can viably support a professional sports team. Demographics, age demographics are obviously big, so too is average income. However, the larger the market size, the more potential you have to bring in fans, viewers, and radio listeners. After all, teams aren't chomping at the bit to go to, say, Sioux Falls, and that's not all weather related. Hypothetically speaking, though, let's say Oakland just refuses to build a new stadium now and forever. We know that's not the case, but again, hypothetically, let's say. If the franchise were to leave Northern California, there are only two markets that really make sense: North Carolina and Oregon. The reason for this is simple. They both span multiple media markets covering a large area that has no nearby team with a lot of households. Carolina is by far and away the biggest, with Charlotte, Raleigh, Durham, and Greensboro, High Point, Winston-Salem consisting of more than 3 million households. The Atlanta Braves have long tried to claim this as their own territory, their own markets, but it's pretty tenuous. It's basically like Sir Francis Drake planting an English flag on California soil in the 1570s and saying, "This is Nova Albion." The reality is that it's nothing more than words. North Carolina does in fact have some Braves fans, but it's also just sort of this hodgepodge of different support. There is no question that if you put a team somewhere in North Carolina, the locals were going to support this team, and they're going to support it with a lot of passion. Oregon is the other A's alternative to Northern California. The state boasts 4 of Nielsen's top 200 markets and has more than 1.8 million households altogether. Like North Carolina, Oregon doesn't have a team to call its own despite a pretty rich baseball history. The Mariners kind of claim Oregon, but I think that there's a realization that they're never fully going to be embraced there. These two locations are the only real viable alternatives to Northern California. And really, baseball would be better off giving both expansion franchises what wouldn't come with their own baggage or crappy out-of-town ownership. At the end of the day, if your argument is that the Bay Area isn't large enough to support 2 professional baseball teams, you're looking at the small picture. The big picture is that we're talking about Northern California here, and that is by far and away large enough to support 2 MLB sides. It's also probably for the best that people attending those games in Northern California are actually going to be fans of the team as opposed to out-of-towners rooting against the local franchise. That does it for me. I'm Cheyenne Hollis. This is the Touchback, and as always, hashtag take it out to the 25.